Morning, everyone. You know, the best way to help out-of-work Americans is to create jobs and grow our economy. That's exactly what Republicans are focused on, creating jobs for middle-class families and small businesses. Unfortunately, Democrats seem to resign to higher unemployment in President Obama's economy. The House has passed dozens of pro-growth jobs bills, many of them in a bipartisan fashion. We've passed education and training measures to expand opportunities for young people and the middle class. We passed a bipartisan measure to approve the Keystone Pipeline and the tens of thousands of jobs that would be created as a result. And we're ready to work with the President and Senate Democrats on trade promotion authority to help employers and workers. If the President means what he says about trade promotion authority, I think it's time for him to pull out all the stops. Now, after 5 years in office, we know how the President can be when he's serious about something. He hit the roads, he uses his bully pulpit, and he takes his case to the American people. So if the President is serious in his commitment to getting this important bipartisan legislation passed, he'll do the same on this issue. And we're hopeful that we can pass that bill this year. But instead of looking to work together, the President this week reminded people that he has, quote, a pen and a phone. I would remind the President he also has a Constitution and an oath of office that he took where he swore to faithfully execute the laws of our country. We have a system of government here, a system of laws, and a Constitution that we're all required to abide by. There's no reason that this year can't be a bipartisan year to work on the issue of our economy and get Americans back to work.
You've talked about the need for the President to have a plan to pay for unemployment benefits, which is a Democratic priority, apparently. Tax extenders is arguably a GOP priority. Should those be paid for?
I don't know what we've done in the past. I think we've done both in the past. Listen, when it comes to unemployment insurance, I told the President now a month and a half ago if he had a plan to extend emergency unemployment benefits, I'd consider it as long as it was paid for and if there were provisions we could agree to that would help expand the economy and create more jobs.
So you do want tax extenders to be paid for?
I don't know what the history of that is.
Speaker Boehner, you said you want 2014 to be a year of bipartisanship. It seems that President Obama has shown a new willingness to talk to folks in Congress. He had martinis with Senate Democrats last night. Would you be open to reviving talks of a grand bargain in regards to the debt limit and having personal one-on-one meetings with President Obama in 2014 in a bipartisanship spirit?
How many times have we talked about this? Plenty. Listen, the President has not only made clear that he will not negotiate on the debt limit. He's also made clear, as have Democrats here on Capitol Hill, that they won't talk about our long-term spending problems unless Republicans are willing to raise taxes. Republicans are not going to raise taxes. And so we find ourselves in a fairly difficult box when it comes to dealing with our long-term spending problems. The President just won't do it without raising taxes. And so not much really to talk about.
No one-on-one meetings?
No.
On the issue of UI, Mr. Speaker, you've been sitting back and waiting for a pay-for on the issue. Now, there has been a debate going on in the Senate, and everybody's wondering if the Senate does get something done, if it's just going to die in the House. So the pay-fors that you've seen that are getting closer in the Senate,
I have made clear if the President had a plan to extend emergency unemployment benefits, let's not confuse that with regular unemployment benefits, that we consider it. But it had to be paid for, and there had to be measures agreed to that would actually help grow the economy. I've not seen a plan over the last 6 weeks.
My question is what's been close in the Senate, whether that's something that could pass the House, something like Heller Reid, something like using sequestration shaving to help
I have
pay for
seen
it.
dozens of ideas over in the Senate. I have no clue what they're close to or what they aren't.
Just curious, Mr. Speaker.
No, young lady in the back.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. In light of Governor Chris Christie's recent troubles, would you encourage your members to have him campaign for them? And do you think he's still an asset to House Republicans?
I'll let each of the members decide that, but Listen, I think the governor made clear that mistakes were made. I think he held people accountable. He's apologized. Time to move on.
Mr. Speaker, we have another vote on health care related to the Board of Repair upstairs right now. Why haven't Republicans gotten behind something to say, okay, this is our health care plan, and what would that be, and go ahead and try to sell it? Why haven't we seen that?
The Republicans, House members, will be having our retreat about a week and a half from now. It's one of the big issues for conversation in terms of our agenda for this year. And I think you'll see Republicans come forward with a plan to replace Obamacare, a plan that will actually reduce costs for the American people and make health insurance more accessible. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I was just curious, how many of your members, how many members of your caucus have actually read the Omnibus? This has been passed so quickly that it's quite likely that many of them have not. The other question I have, sir, is tucked inside that Omnibus is about $62 million for a company called USEC, which does uranium enrichment. You've been supportive of this project in the past. That company last month announced plans to file for bankruptcy. How do you explain that? How does that money get spent for a company that's going bankrupt?
Well, there's all different types of bankruptcy proceedings, but this USEC issue in Ohio is an uranium enrichment facility with new technology. There's been a bipartisan effort to proceed with this research that they're doing. When it comes to the Omnibus appropriation bill, listen, this is not the way I would want to do business. I'm a big believer that we ought to have regular order. And what this bill does is begin the process of getting us back to regular order. Having an omnibus appropriation bill is a better vehicle for us to outline policies to the administration than continuing with the so-called continuing resolutions that just fund everything that we funded the year before. But not preferable, but to a regular appropriations process, but we haven't had a regular appropriation process around here for the last 5 or 6 years. This begins the process of getting us back to regular order.
And sir, you support sending more money to this company, even though they're announcing that they're
I don't know what
bankruptcy?
I don't know what the specific issue is here, but people can file for bankruptcy to reorganize their company. I don't know the specifics here.
Doesn't that have an earmark, though?
No, this is a Energy Department research project that's been going on for a long time.
Jack Lew said, I think today or yesterday, that he sees late February as a deadline for the debt limit. And he said March, he said it's more likely late February than March. Do you believe him? And if not, what's your sense of it?
Listen, I don't have an estimate of when we're going to reach the debt limit. All I know is that we should not default on our debt. We shouldn't even get close to it. And I would hope that the House and the Senate would act quickly on a bill to increase the debt limit. What that vehicle is and how it's going to be unveiled, we'll find out soon enough.
We're now in late January, so it's a reasonable thing. Do you think in a month from now we're going to be dealing with the debt limit, or you don't think that?
We'll see. I don't have any idea. Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that the House should move forward with an Iran sanctions bill right now, or do you think we should hold off on something like that, which is what the White House has been saying repeatedly?
Well, there's an awful lot of bipartisan discussions about Iran. And we've got concerns about the interim agreement. And I think a lot of members on both sides of the aisle would like to state the House's position more clearly in terms of what we'd like to see in the final agreement. But those conversations are continuing.
Do you expect a resolution type thing to hit the floor, not a bill, but a resolution expressing an opinion on this stuff?
We'll see.
Mr. Boehner, some of your colleagues are concerned that this year will be spent mostly primarily arguing against Obamacare and talking about the failures of Obama, that they want votes on Republican proposals, Republican proposal on health care, on tax reform, on other ideas. Will you commit to having votes on those issues on your own ideas?
Well, we're going to have our retreat, as I said, in about 10 days. Republican members will have an opportunity to look at an agenda that we're going to outline. But it's important for us as a party, especially in an election year, to tell people what you're for. We're for getting rid of Obamacare and replacing it with a patient-centered health care system. And I think you'll see ample evidence of this. we believe that tax reform, closing loopholes and get rid of unnecessary deductions, lowering rates, will be good for our economy and help create more jobs. We believe that education reform. It's time that we allow parents to be more engaged in the selection of schools for their kids. We educate half of America's kids. It's a disgrace. And a focus on these things is important. So we're going to outline these issues. Many of them will be voted on, I'm sure, in the coming year.
Mr. Speaker, most of the provisions in the Ryan Murray bill, most of the cuts weren't particularly painful, but there's one that has some Republicans quite upset. I'm referring to the COLA cut for military retirees. Do you support efforts to repeal it, or might it look bad to get rid of a cut just a month after you've done it?
Well, in the Omnibus appropriation bill, the COLA for disabled veterans was in fact dealt with. Still conversation going on about the other. Last one.
Mr. Speaker, Moody's came out today and said that the shrinking federal deficit is a positive sign for the U.S.'s credit rating, and fluctuations in dollar volatility has dropped precipitously since Congress has now started to get its act together and not threaten debt crises or shutdowns. In February, if we do wind up trading back and forth about needing to have offsets for the debt limit, do you see a chance that that progress that Congress has wound up making economically could get reversed?
No, I don't. I think if Moody's were honest, they'd realize we're having the economy is marginally better, but Republicans have forced this administration to hold the line on spending. We've got $168 billion over the last 3 years out of money that would have been spent. That's a record to be proud of, and has helped bring down the budget deficit in a significant way.
What do you got for